your voice so rich and pure and honest. Thank you. Isn't this incredible, this place that we have? Yeah, I have so much to say and so little time to say it all, but I am filled with gratitude today, and it's a blessing to be here. I just returned from a journey to Europe, and I had never been to Europe. Didn't think I wanted to go to Europe. I was going to Europe because my friends were going to Europe, and people my age go to Europe. So I thought I'll go to Europe. And it was so amazing, the big world, the clean world, the green world, the people, the love. There's so much more. There's so much more. And I was so happy. I was so happy. And I was happy because before I left, I was whiny. And I didn't realize how much I was carrying and how much I was holding. And I was healed. I was healed by the prayers from you, as Mary offered that opportunity. And as I shared in the earlier service, that was the hardest moment for me. Hard moment to be kind of standing out, gimping around, and people praying on you. And then the healer that touched me after services. She was an amazing woman. She was a divine conduit. She took no credit. And that's what healer is, taking no credit, but opening to the divine and offering love. And she says to me, walk. Walk like you can walk. And I thought, well, I don't want her to feel bad, but I'll try. But I watched when she was working on me. My swelling was disappearing before my eyes, and when I stood up, I could walk. And walk I did, and walk I did, all through the journey through Europe. And I had the most incredible time. And there were times of challenge, and there were times of whining, but I kept knowing a deeper truth, that there is a love that carries each and every one of us, and that's what we speak today of. What is the healer? We're talking this month about the wholeness. And one of the inspirational books is Larry Dossey, who's a doctor, who found and proved through his research the power of prayer. Couldn't come at a better time. As Reverend Mary has been diligently putting together this groups of 8 for all of us to partake in, to join in, be a part of it. Because it is in the community and it is that support that we are carried to higher ground. We carry each other through the prayer and the power of the one. So join that, because the healer dwells within each and every one of us. It is the absolute. It is the nameless. We can't name it because it is not us and it's not personal, but it flows through us. And it is reminding us to take care and to love deeply. And to love what? Yourself. Now, we've heard that since we were just this little size going to church, this little peanut up here. If he gets restless, he can go in the back. Do you know that? But I'm only intimidated by a child, because remember that time I was speaking and the child went, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I got a child in the audience. He's really cute. So anyway, don't say the blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the healer, the absolute, the nameless, he's being very precious. So this idea of where we are in all of that big paradigm. And as I was looking at this, preparing this and thinking of all of us together in this talk, what the healer is, that idea we've often seen as if we draw a circle and we put a dot in the middle, and the dot represents us, and the circle around us represents the world that we create around us, right? A dot, you can all visualize that. The invitation is to erase that circle, to erase those boundaries that you've put upon yourself without even realizing that you have created an idea, a form. Let it all go. Let it be the formless. Let it be that divinity, that grace, that expansive space, and you dwell as one within that all. And in that all potential, all possibility flows effortlessly through you, to you, as you. So we are the center of our own world. We can't help but be. We think outside of this mind that we have gifted by the divine through each and every one of us. So we are living our life through that experience. Please stay close. Now I'm attached to him. I just recognized who you were, so welcome. So the divine potential is shown in that circle as we erase it, the divine potential of all that we can ever be. And so we know this story as we've seen it told in many ways, but there is the story of the king that wanted his son to live a humble life. So when the child was born, he gave him to the peasants? Not a pheasant is a bird, and a peasant gave him to the peasants to raise. And when the time was right, the king said, now I'm here to reclaim my son. And he tried to share with the son who he truly was, that he was this great prince. And all that his kingdom had was his to partake in. But the son could not wrap his mind around that, because in his world was small and poor. He could not shift that. You see, he could not erase the circle around his individuality. In his world, he was told what everything was in such a small way. It's the same fable and myth about the ugly duckling, right? You know, that the little duck is whatever they see within themselves, and then they are born to something greater, to something new. And when the swan actually saw the reflection of his true self, he will know then to have the courage to look more deeply into ourselves. So that's the invitation today, to look more deeply into yourself, to see where your imprints are, that allows that divine flow to get pinched. To confine yourself in such a way that you're always looking for the healing, and it's already present, but we can't experience it, we can't see it, we can't feel it, because we've allowed ourselves to become small and not see the true reflection of the divine within us as us. And how do we do that? And it's through prayer. It's through communication to the divine. And this is where Larry Dossey has discovered, and we know it through our own work, the power of the prayer, the power of declaring that word. And prayer can show up as silence. It doesn't have to be a word spoken. It can be your breathing. It can be just a deep knowing. And it can also be the deep inner dialogue that you have with the divine. And any effort to meditate upon this truth allows this divine potential to reveal itself through you, as you. And that's the excitement that true healing is made manifest. So I recognized when Mary called me up and the prayer was happening for me, my fear and my unworthiness. My fear and my unworthiness was right in my face, my awkwardness. And yet, when I opened my eyes, I made myself look out. Love was pouring my way. Love carried me. Love filled me. And that light of mine, as that song so beautifully expressed, carried me on a journey where every footstep I made was filled with joy and love, and I took you all with me. So the invitation, when you are working on your own healing, how worthy are you to receive that truth? Are you willing to receive the prayer? Are you willing to receive the prayer? To be worthy enough to look yourself in your own mind's eye and to love that deep self. There's a book of consciousness and healing put together by Noetic Sciences, and one of the authors, Francis Vaughan, says, what is real to one person may be an illusion to another. We need a community of peers to validate and confirm our experience. And we need to remember that to a great extent, we create the world we inhabit by the way we think. The Buddha said, with our thoughts, we make our world. And with Christians, and we see it in the Bible, it is done unto you as you believe. This concept of the self stands like a shield, a silent barricade before the big truth. Now take that in for a moment, this concept of yourself. It really is where it all begins, this concept of loving the self. And there are ways that we can recognize the things that get in the way of this truth. And we are asking ourselves to cultivate this love, this vast love, this tangible love, this real love, and to reduce the barriers that are holding the self, shielding the self from this penetrating truth to be made manifest. So what are some of those barriers? It can be fear. It can be greed or anger or jealousy or pride. And then we're trying to cultivate in exchange as we polish some of those ways of being that kind of stir up and rise up. They are blessings, truly, when they rise up through you. Don't beat yourself up. Oh, so this is my challenge. When it rears itself for you to see, oh, you're unworthy. Even though I feel unworthy, I am loved. And love prevails in this moment. So we cultivate gratitude and generosity and love through prayer, and we look deeply into reality. We're courageous and bold. And Ram Dass asked his teacher, isn't there any room ever in spirituality for anger? And his teacher got in his face and just said, no! Really. And sometimes we try to work it so it's to our advantage, to our small self, to be safe in our small self. No! There's no room for that. It all has to dissolve into love itself and to allow love to prevail. So, Buddha, we make our world with our thoughts. The Christian idea, it is done unto us as we believe. This concept of self stands like a shield, a silent barricade before your truth. So I'm inviting you, please, feel the moments you squirm in your seat, your heart starts to shudder just a little bit. Is that mine? Because it's down in the subconscious. And the subconscious isn't that readily revealed. It is through our dreams, and the invitation is to meditate and to follow your dreams and to stay in that realm of deep prayer work with the right side of the brain. And I spoke about that a lot at the earlier service, so I won't belabor it again. But we want to remember that some of these emotions are not really the teacher. We want to be mindful of a presence and led, but not influenced by any of the emotions or any of the lesser ways. So we want to feel the prayer. And this is where Larry Dosi, I'm struggling with his name today, shares very powerfully in this writing. I was so organized when I was sitting down there, and now I can't find it. But his words, hello, is it sitting there quietly? Oh, close your eyes for a moment, meditate deeply. While the child can channel me now, blah, 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 blah. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So, in Dosi's words, he says, prayer, we shall see, takes many forms. Many people follow the formalities of the great religions and pray explicitly for specific events to occur. Some people pray to a personal god or goddess, the Almighty, the Supreme. Others to an impersonal universe of the Absolute. Others do not pray in any conventional sense, but live with a deep, interiorized sense of the sacred. Theirs could be called a spirit of prayerfulness, a sense of simply being attuned or aligned with something higher. We should not equate these ways of being with doing nothing. Beneath the tranquility and the equanimity and the acceptance lies a kind of action that bears little resemblance to the showy activity to which we are accustomed. This quiet, inner-directed action is acknowledged in many spiritual traditions as the highest form of activity in which humans can engage, and is most identical with the form of prayer. So this idea to allow yourself to break down the barriers that you might even have around prayer. In our teaching, we have a formula, and we have steps that we follow in our prayer so that we stay engaged with the prayer, so we are active in the prayer, so that we are participating in our prayer, and we're having a dialogue with the divine. But the invitation for you is to find your language. Don't let this be a doctrine that is forced upon you, and you have to use these words. No, listen to the level of the love of your own heart and allow those to be the words that bathe you and heal you and restore you. He goes on to say physical illness, no matter how painful or grotesque, is at some level of secondary importance in the total scheme of our existence. This is the awareness that one's authentic, higher self is completely impervious to the ravages of physical ailments, whatever. The disease may regress or totally disappear when this awareness dawns, for reasons we do not understand. When this happens, it's a gift, a blessing, and a grace. But again, this is secondary importance. The real cure is the realization that the most essential level, that we are all untouchables, utterly beyond the ravages of disease and death. What am I talking about there? There is an absolute within you as you that is pure, that is perfect. There is a wholesomeness in each and every one of us. That's why prayer works. Prayer speaks to that perfection. And it is a gift and a blessing and it is grace when anything other than that just falls behind us. We begin the journey into prayer and healing by acknowledging great mysteries that cannot be resolved by formulas and intellectualizing it. Honoring the great unknowns, we now take a closer look at how prayer manifests in our life. So are you praying? Are you praying? Are you spending enough time in the deep silence, in the stillness of your own soul, and listening? Are you willing to have the barriers that present themselves? Are you willing to look at that and say, even though that is here, I know I am the beloved. I know that I am loved. And that as I accept that great, vast love, I am able to give that out into my world. And as a community, that is what we begin to do. Ernest Holmes says this: the belief that we do not have the ability to heal arises out of the mistaken idea that our power does the healing, or that the intellect is doing the healing. Watch yourself on that. If someone asks you a prayer, you say yes. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking, because I love to speak to the divine. All that the will and the intellect could do is to behold or watch the process. This is Ernest Holmes. There is only one healer. This is the Spirit of truth. There is only one life principle. This is the God in us. This is the Spirit in us. Put the word for God in that sentence for you. This is the nature in us. This is the mystery in us. This is the Spirit in us. This is the God in us. There is but one final law, and this is the law of good. There is but one ultimate impulsion, and this impulsion is love. It's such a vast love, and we must never rid ourselves of the idea that it is the personal man who does the healing. We must know that it is not I, but the Father that dwelleth in me. He doth the work. The divine Spirit is only the actor, the true Savior, the all in all, and in now manifesting itself. Being all in all, it has no opposition, competition, or otherness. That's powerful. I want you all to kind of bolster up and go, hey, that's living in me. You know? That's God in me, as me, here now. And there's no mistake. We're in great company. So when you join a group of 8, you're in great company. because God's showing up. And you get to speak to the divine, and you get to share stories with one another in such a way that whatever is less than that in you is revealed and healed. You're back into wholeness, which was already there in the first place. So this invitation, feel the prayer. If it's a repetitive prayer that you're saying, I do the Lord's Prayer all the time in the middle of the night when I can't sleep. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. And I say it and say it and say it until I drift off to sleep. It's like my lullaby. So you want to feel your prayer and begin to take dominion in your life. Your mind is your kingdom, and you are the ruler. You choose how you're going to think and how you're going to react. It doesn't matter what's done to you. It doesn't matter. It's what you do with it. There's a huge difference. What are you going to do with it? Whatever is in your experience. There's no one to blame, but you have a chance, a choice, to do something powerful and to align with those choices of unselfish love, to align with love and to receive a perfect power. And you ask your questions. If you're worried about your prayers, are they selfish? Is it too much all about me? Yeah. But you also say, is this choice good for me? Is this choice in my prayer good for others all around me? And can I accept it freely? See, there's an important part there of accepting it freely. The healer that touched me, I accepted it freely. At first, I was starting to put up my barricades. I got a pack. I don't know you very well. Is it going to hurt? Is it going to get worse? Barriers, fear. And then the still small voice said, open to the love, to the healing, to what is right here, right now, for you, flowing through you, to you, as you. I say yes, and so be it. And then I believed in it. There's the key point. I believed. I believed, and I let that carry me every step of my journey. So we know that there's a perfect power within each and every one of us that's operating as us. And there's this, as we accept this, there's this divine illumination. A divine illumination. This little light of mine begins to shine brighter and brighter. Emerson said, there is one mind common to all individual man. Every man is an inlet to the same and to the same. Plato spoke of God as a divine mind. The light shines through the one mind. We are each an inlet and an outlet of the divine mind. We can't but help but have that continuing to happen. We are a divine flow, and we allow ourselves to relax in our true nature, and God expresses itself through each and every one of us. How? Through love. Through love. Anything less than that? Not important to spend your time on it. So we start to see that every thought we're having, saints have had before. Isn't that an awesome thought? That the privilege of knowing this divine connection is open to each and every one of us. Love is the key. And there's this sweet little book that I came across that talks about the perfect power within you, and it speaks of this love. At the beginning, all is love and all is law. We talk about law. Law is it's done unto you as you believe. We see that every thought we think produces an effect. We have the power to choose the kind of thought we want to think. We're getting the kind of effects. Are they what you want in your experience? We want to live a creative, affirmative, dynamic, healthful, and productive life. If we're not experiencing these fruits, we're planting seeds that are not in accord with this peace. Jesus understood this. You must love the divine law of goodness at the center of your being with all of the feeling of your nature, with all of your heart. You accept this truth. With all of your subconscious mind, which is your soul, and with all your intellect, which is your mind, that you accept this. Moreover, this love is the image of this divine goodness for yourself and for your neighbor, for all of us. It is so expansive and inclusive. Upon these two must depend the right use of the law, and this is what inspired the enlightened teachers of the ages. This is what every principle is telling you, to love bigger. To love. It's not enough to just say God is love. You are love. This love must be consciously expressed. You cannot take this love for granted. He that saith that he is the light and has his brother in the darkness, even until now, he that loves his brother abides in the light, and there is no occasion of stumbling in him. But he that hateth his brother is in the darkness and walks in darkness. You see, we can't separate ourselves. The world right now is absolutely calling for us to not divide ourselves. We see suffering. We don't turn away. We don't curse it. We weep with it. We hold it. And we ask, what is ours to do in the suffering of the world? There's a story of a Zen monk that saw a child that was deformed being picked on by his fellow playmates. And the monk just didn't know what to do, started to just weep. And he walked up to the little boy and held his hand. He still didn't know what to do. But the still small voice, the wisdom of guidance, the surrender to truth, led his vision to the ice cream stand. So he took the little boy over to the ice cream stand, and he had the little boy buy ice cream for all those bullies. Now the little boy was the king. And everybody was smiling, and they all went off playfully. So, what is yours to do? Anger at the injustice? Or weep and open your heart and ask in deep prayer, what is mine to do? What would love do here? And let my mind and my heart not be divided, but let me be steadfast now on this planet to this truth more than ever before in the history of man. May I walk this walk and love absolute, even though moments come and my heart closes down because I can't stand what I see. Let me stay. Let me open there and let love prevail. There is a prayer here, be still and know that I am God, from Psalms. Be still and know that I am the perfect power within you. Be still and know that I am the eternal life living as you. Be still and know that I am divine love expressing in you. Feel that. Be still and know that I am the fullness of joy within you. Be still. This is the love speaking. This is the divine in you. Be still and know that I am heavenly peace within you. Be still and know that I am the light of truth within you. Be still and know that I am God, and there is none beside me. Are you willing? Are you willing? Is it possible? And if not, if only part of you can go there, then take that part and learn what you can learn. The power of this prayer, the power of sitting in our stillness and listening to silence and listening to the divine, calling, longing for that divine connection. Heal what is before me. I alone can do nothing, but as the divine joins my heart, as I recognize it's never gone and I'm whole with that, the rewards are beyond measure. We fall into grace. And I end this talk, and I'll have Judy come forward. And Adashante is a current teacher that I love following, and he speaks of this grace. Because sometimes it takes the grace, doesn't it? Sometimes we can't do it. We don't know the answers. Some things are just not right out in the world. But love is never wrong. So we sit long enough to discover what grace would do. So when you're open and sincere, even the smallest thing can change the whole world, can shift your entire perspective, and you begin to step out of the suffering. This doesn't mean that you can escape suffering and the challenges of being in this world, but your heart will become big enough that you can embrace the world as it is, with all its beauty, with all its sorrow, And somehow, through that process, you become someone who has something revolutionary to offer this world. A truly open mind, an open heart, and open consciousness. Fall into your center now. Close your eyes. Ground yourself in this truth that grace is all around us. Have the eyes to see. Feel these moments of grace. Even the difficult moments are grace. Confusing moments have grace. Open. Open and remember there is grace. There is love in every situation. Let your hearts flower. Express the peace and the love that each of us has within them. Be part of the journey. Be part of the tribe that walks with love and grace and peace and a deep knowing that it is God's love that is being made manifest. As we let go into the grace, we fall. We fall into the arms of another. We can put our head down and sleep deeply. We have a willingness to relax in the midst of tensions, a willingness to stop, to breathe, to notice there's something going on other than the story that the mind is telling us. These are moments of grace. Whatever there be in our experience, the most difficult emotional challenge, the most causeless joy, occurs within a vast space of peace, stillness, and well-being. Let go. Feel it. Let go. Let go in this moment. Breathe. What do you feel? There is a love inside of you. There is a truth inside of you, forever whispering, forever holding, forever guiding you to a higher way. I give thanks. I give thanks for a community that I can lean on, lean into, and they can lean on me. We hold each other up in these times, and we call for a greater good, for greater peace to be revealed. Thank you, God, for the fellowship, for the sincerity of the hearts in this room, for the work that is before us, and our willingness to take a piece, to weep with it, to smile with it, but to work with it, with the power of the one leading the way. I release this prayer. My heart is full. And together we say, and so it is.